Hello, and welcome back to Team 39th Rhapsody. As usual, I will be your host, Tanishu, and today we'll spend some time going over my Youthberk deck profile. This deck is updated to all the way to DBTO 10. With DBTO 11 coming up, not much changes. With DBTO 12, we will be adding the cat into the deck. However, as this is what I ran for BRO, although my results weren't so good, admittedly, I do believe that this is basically as good as Youthberk can get at the moment in the English format. So, let's get into it. Alright, so starting off with the ride line, we of course are playing the Youthberk ride line into Youthberk Skyfall. The Youthberk ride line, due to its search, fall, and recursion, is still the best ride line for Youthberk at the moment, as well as Skyfall Arms still being our main vanguard, of course. Moving on, we have our grade 3s, our first of which being 3 Youthberk Skyfall Arms. This is of course because we want to personalize as much as possible to keep a pressure on our opponent, as Youthberk has become slightly more underwhelming compared to the new decks of the current format. Then, we have our 4 Youthberk Tempest is still the best card for Youthberk to get Revolt form into. Tempest still being DB1. So look at top 2. If your opponent has a grade equal to one of the units revealed from the top 2, you can choose to put one of them to the bottom of the deck. And then you get to add those 2 units to your hand, as well as it automatically and freely giving your front row plus 5k. This is really nice, as the plus 5k allows your 10k rears to hit a 13k vanguard or under persona for 25k alone, as well as giving you a free draw 2 basically. Of course, Tempest is not the only Revolt form we'll be playing, as most of our deck searches Revolt forms. I am also playing 3 Revolt form Gust. Gust is really not preferred over Tempest, however Gust is our best other option right now, as it's a good target to go into for finishing games, or if you have no CB. However, I have noticed that some other Youthberk players are playing one of the Evergreen Transfer instead. The only reason I don't do this is because I would, in testing, be playing games with this, and I would CB1 for a use like Schneisel or check top 3 for a use like Youthberk, and I wouldn't find any Revolt form. So, with it being tied to CB in that case, I found it very frustrating to not add anything to my hand, simply CBing one to basically do nothing. However, Evergreen Transfer is a great card, and if I wasn't so stuck up on this problem, I would definitely play it, putting my Revolt form count down to 6 instead of 7. Going on to the grade 2s, we are playing 4 the Spiral Cutie. So the reason we're playing 4 is because Spiral Cutie, like all other cycle cards, says when discarded during the ride phase, Soul Blast 1, put this unit to the bottom of the deck and draw a card. While Youthberk does need Soul for the grade 1 Youth, when you use this on your grade 2 turn, due to the grade 1's effect going into standby under ride, you can optimally activate Spiral Cutie first, Soul Blast the grade 1 Youth, put her to the bottom, draw a card, then Soul Blast the grade 1 Youth for the cost of the grade 1 Youth's own skill. This means that you can both get the draw and the search effect, and recycle Spiral Cutie. As for the under persona ride CB1, check top 2, that is mainly used on turns where you have spare CB or you know you can spare the CB, as well as turns where you have Gust ready to go. This is because with Gust you mainly want to confirm your drive checks so that you make sure you do hit those triggers when you really need them. Otherwise, this skill isn't used as often due to it being tied to CB and persona ride. Of course, our main man of the deck is still 3 of Schneisel. Schneisel is still a great card as he counterblast 1 to search the top 5 for any card with Youthberk in his card name, not focused or restricted by Revolt form. And also on attack, Gives a nice plus 5k to Youthberk when they're revolt formed when he attacks. So not only does he allow your Youthberk to hit for better numbers, Tempest himself only gaining 5k from his skill will gain another 5k, putting him to 23, which is nice because it stops 10k guards. And also allows you to dig through your deck for those revolt forms, effectively deck thinning, because deck thinning is deck winning. For our final grade 2 of the deck, I play 1 Maple. Maple, although not getting her glitter effect due to it being tied to Thegria, still has the skill that auto in drop. Your grade 3 or greater rearguard or vanguard is placed during the ride phase. If you do not have a card with Maple in its card name on your rearguard circle, you may call this card the rearguard circle. This is really nice as it's basically a free attacker from your drop zone. You can use it to discard during the ride phase if you don't have anything to discard, and she'll come back when you persona ride or even when you do your first ride up. So Maple is a really great card as it recycles herself. Moving on to the grade 1s, I am playing 4 of Sequana. Sequana is still one of your favorite cards in the Youthberk deck. Not only does she feel soul, she increases your Youthberk's drive, which gets minus by 2 due to Skyfall, putting her back to 1. And then is a plus 2k when you have a Youthberk Vanguard, which means she's a 10k booster. This is really nice as it means your Youthberk, even without Persona, is swinging for 23 on your first turn with her boost, then putting into Soul, and having your usually Tempest get 1 drive. Now, while Sequana is a staple, we'll be moving on to the other grade 1s. These ones are likely a bit more controversial due to our Youthberk mindsets being stuck in 4 of Wayward. However, in the recent format, Wayward has become a bit too slow for Youthberk, Youthberk having barely any early game and being CB locked, along with Wayward being a bit too slow as she cannot be called from hand without an effect. Due to this, we're playing 2 of Anucleate Angel. Yes, Anucleate Angel. What Anucleate does is that when your Vanguard is placed by riding from grade 3, Soul Blast 1, retire this unit, countercharge 1, use your own Vanguards, and it gets plus 5k into the end of turn. Anucleate is really nice because it allows us that early game 8k attacker. Also, if she's not retired, you can also use her to get out of a CB deny that your opponent will likely use on you to prevent you from overusing your CB during Tempest turns. It also makes room for cards like Spiral Cutie Angel for you to allow your free use of CB, and it makes you a lot less restricted. Adding on to Anucleate Angel, we are playing Reedy. Reedy is a bit high rolly. At first I was really skeptical of this choice, as it's Soul Blast 2 to increase your trigger effects by plus 5k. This means any trigger you check becomes 15k, but I found that he is a great card, as not only does it force some opponents to overguard, but it also, when you hit triggers like a front trigger, give your whole front row plus 15k, making it a huge effect and absolutely ripping cards out of your opponent's hand. Of course, if you don't want to play Reedy, I would simply recommend that you play 2 of Wayward Angel, as while Wayward does miss out on a lot of early game, and to be honest, should be at definitely not 4 in the Youthberk deck right now, due to the fact that she's a simple, when discarded, Soul Blast 1 to call herself from drop. As a 10k grade 1, meaning a 10k attacker, she's still a great card, and although you won't use her in the early game, playing her at 2 allows you to use her in a later game, as perhaps you ran out of attackers due to a Gandiva player, or simply if you want to add that 10k booster on your field. Of course, outside of that, we're playing a regular lineup for most people these days, which is 3 effect PGs, 1 Elementary Sanctitude. Jet and Messiah are still top decks in the meta, and also really played in the meta due to how easily the stride deck sets are for people to get them. So Elementaria Sanctitude makes your life a lot easier, allowing you to PG 1-card guard them. For our trigger lineup, we are in fact running 8 crit, as we want to crit our opponent as much as possible. We just really want to finish games faster now in Youthberk, as we don't last in the later game, and we barely last in the early game. Adding on to the 8 crit is of course 3 front, 1 blue OT. So the blue OT is really nice, as not only is it technically an extra critical trigger in the deck, it allows us to recur cards from the drop zone. This is why people get away with playing the Evergreen Transfer and only 6 Revolt forms, as you can recycle your Revolt forms if you hit your OT. Of course, I don't find this comes up consistently enough for me, so I play 7. However, the blue OT is still the better pick, and unless you are running the Youthberk build that focuses a little more on having dull breaks, then I would not run the red OT over the blue OT. And to finish off our trigger lineup, we of course have 4 Heo triggers. So that is the deck. However, as it's a quick deck profile, I'll quickly go over how I did in BRO and why I did not do as well as I could have in BRO. In round 1, I fought Hexa Orb. Hexa Orb with the new Aquamarine gets really big, and triggers are huge and very impactful for their gameplay, as they didn't hit that many triggers in the later game when they were on Aquamarine. This led to me winning simply through outpacing them and out-resourcing them. In round 2, I fought one of the matchups I fear the most, which is Zorga Mask. I won simply due to the fact that although they got me to 5, they ran out of gas in the later game, and perhaps did not use resources as well as they could have in terms of recycling. Round 3 was another Zorga Mask. Unfortunately, I was crit basically every turn from their grade 2 onward, which really ended up hurting, as Skull Dragons already have 2 crit and gain 10k power, as long as being under Alchemagic and Zorga Mask skill and Persona Ride, making them around 45ks. Round 4 was Lowista. I took another loss on this one, as not only does Lowista do a great job at gaining resources and outputting huge power, Lowista also happened to crit me 2 times when I 2-card guarded. There's, to be honest, not much I could do about that. However, perhaps I could have been more conscious on which resources I would be using in preparation for their resources. Round 5, I fought Nirvana Jiva. Jiva, of course, although getting Mirror's Virina, is still not that good of a deck, and I simply outpaced them. Round 6 was Chronojet. I let the game go on for too long, as my goal with Chronojet is to basically finish the game as much as possible, and their crest got up to 20k, and I basically got hit so hard that I could not do anything on the next stage turn. Round 7 was another Chronojet. This is another loss for me. In my notes, I basically was likely a bit salty about the crest still, saying that the crest makes too high numbers due to their increased drive checks from next stage turns, basically the first turn after the Fate Rider turn. They hit more triggers, and due to this they have more draw, and they're more consistent. And since I pulled almost no triggers during my grade 3 turns that game, I had no hand to guard with. As the tourney goes on to 8 rounds, unfortunately I did have to leave as I had things to do that day, so I dropped after round 7. In the end, I fought no Gandivas, surprisingly, only one Lowista and a Zorga. Of course, I expected to fight Hexa Orb, Zorga, Lowista, and Gandiva. Although I wish I did a little better, I did learn a lot about each matchup, as it was a little difficult for me to test against them, with most of my friends not playing it and me having to use people I don't know to test. Of course, BRO is still a great event and I had a great time playing. So, that's it for my Youthberk deck profile post DBTO10. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully, with this new mic I have, it came through a bit clearer than it normally does. See you next time.